What's up, everyone? This is the Next Day Podcast, episode 70 with Mikel, and
And Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So, we're going to go on to our Dark Side of Disney part two.
Two in our final part.
And and our final part. There will be another part after this. So, if you haven't listened to the first one, it's available on our podcast. I believe it's episode. Do you remember? Like, is episode?
Okay, well, let me check. It
It's
is episode 66. So it came out on around January 16th.
yeah, January. Okay, so go check that out, guys. But yeah, Tanika. Do you want to get a little details on what you're going to be talking about on the part two of the Dark Side of Disney?
So we're going to be talking about the more darker sides of the movies that Disney has brought us. Because as I think a lot of us know, the origins of these stories are a lot darker,
Mhm.
uh, some of them, than the fairy tale endings that we see in some of the movies on Disney.
Mm,
So,
okay.
yeah, let's
All
just
right.
say Ariel doesn't get the guy. We'll just say that.
Okay. Interesting.
So, okay,
Okay.
let's go into it.
Yes.
So, Disney's adaptations of fairy tales and stories have been casting a little bit of magic over our childhoods since their original animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, in 1937. However, whether it's Hans Christian Andersen's original heartbreaking ending to The Little Mermaid, or the brutal desperation of Cinderella's stepsisters in the Brothers Grimm tale, the stories that inspired the films are often much darker than our favorite childhood films. So let's dive into it.
Mhm.
So, the original story behind The Little Mermaid. So, in the Disney version of Hans Christian Andersen's tale, Ariel eventually wins the heart of Prince Eric, gets her voice back, and celebrates with a beautiful wedding on a boat surrounded by her aquatic friends and family. Well, in Hans Christian Andersen's original story, things don't end so beautifully. In fact, the story is tragic throughout, with Ariel's transformation to human causing her constant agonizing pain before her heart is broken when her prince marries someone else. The sea witch informs her that if she kills the prince, she will turn back into a mermaid and live. But Ariel, because she's so in love with him, chooses to sacrifice herself, throwing herself into the sea and becoming sea foam.
Hmm.
So, not so rosy. Mulan. Disney have been inspired by the heroic female warrior, not once but twice, first in their 1998 animated adaptation, and now with their live action one that honestly did not get the recognition that it potentially deserved, but with COVID, unfortunately, it just kind of went under the wayside a little bit.
I heard some controversy on the original the animation ones. Like
Oh,
it's
for sure. I think a lot of them have these
culture
days.
corporation or something like that.
Of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, I think Mulan is, oh no, for sure, Mulan is played by an Asian woman. Actually, if we watched what's that Marvel show that they had? Shield. If you remember the main, like the Asian
Shang-Chi?
uh
Shang-Chi or
I
is it
I
Shield?
don't know, I
Shield?
don't know her name, but she was in Shield and she was kind of alongside with Agent
Oh,
Coulson, the
okay,
Asian
okay.
lady. Yeah, she played Mulan, so at least there's
Mhm.
that.
Okay.
But you have the dragon being played by Eddie Murphy, which I mean, don't take that from me anyways,
Mhm.
because he's great. You have a white man playing the what's his face and the guy that Mulan falls in love with. I can't remember his name right now, guys. Sorry. Um,
Was he always the white guy that fell in love with the in the
no,
original
so the
animation
so
show?
the No, no, no. So the
Uh-huh.
person who we see in the movie is
Hmm.
Asian, but he's played by Donny Osmond. So, like he
Okay.
was a white man. So that's I think where that's coming from. Um, but I mean, again, we have to remember, and I'm gonna keep saying this, the 90s were a different time.
Hmm.
Those things were happening not just in cartoon movies, but in, you know, live action movies. So it's just that's how it was. And we can spread awareness to it now, but like I'm not gonna not watch Mulan because of it. I'm going to I'm going to still watch it, and I loved Mulan growing up. So, um, so anyway, so both films follow quite closely the original poem, which is called The Ballad of Mulan. But the 1695 version of the tale included in the Su Tang romance takes a darker turn. When
Hmm.
Mulan takes her father's place in the army, she meets the king's daughter, who's also a warrior. The two become inseparable, and when the king is defeated, they offer to be put to death in his place.
Mm.
They are eventually spared, but when Mulan returns home, she finds that her father has died and her mother has remarried. With her female identity revealed, Mulan is ordered to become a concubine, but she commits suicide rather than submit to this fate.
Mm.
So, not as nice as the movie.
Yeah.
So, the classic fairy tale Frozen is based on another story. So, let's get to that too.
Let's talk about Frozen. It's-
Well, it's a little different than what the movie portrays. It's
Right.
not about sisterly love. Let's put it that way. Disney's spectacularly popular animation is loosely based on Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen, but
Hmm.
while Frozen is an empowering story of sisterly love and learning not to fear your power, The Snow Queen has much darker beginnings, though a similarly happy ending. In The Snow Queen, the devil makes a magic mirror which shows people only the bad and ugly aspects of themselves. When the mirror is shattered, splinters get into the eyes and hearts of people around the world, freezing their hearts, which, if you remember in Frozen, happens to Anna. Or, well, not the mirror so much, but her heart gets pierced. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Years later, a splinter gets into the eye of a boy called Kai, causing him to become cruel and reject his grandmother and best friend Gerda, making him an easy target to be enchanted and imprisoned by the Snow Queen. So when, sorry, okay, when he disappears, it's assumed Kai has fallen into the river and died, but Gerda is sure he's alive and begins an epic quest to rescue him. So that's basically what happens there. So it's a little different than Frozen, where, Elsa is, running away from, her powers, and she goes where she feels that she can be herself, and Anna goes after her to go save her because sisters. So it's a little different.
Interesting.
So the Lion King, don't be fooled by cute lion cubs because yes, they're cute. And warthogs and meerkats who tell us about Kuna Matata. It's a beautiful thing. Um, the inspiration behind Disney's beloved animation and the live action film is much darker than you might expect. It's said that the writers were inspired by Shakespeare's Hamlet, in which the Prince Hamlet sets out to seek revenge on his uncle Claudius after Claudius murders his father in order to seize the throne. Sound familiar? Not unlike the plight of our favorite lion cub, Simba, who
Mhm.
goes after Scar because, yeah. But I mean, again, I'm gonna challenge this a little bit, just because I am who I am. We have all learned that Mufasa was actually adopted, and Scar like completely brought him in and and loved him and everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then Mufasa becomes king. I'd be pissed too. Like, I'd be pissed. I may not necessarily kill somebody, but I'm pissed. 'Cause
They
that's
said
supposed to be me.
yeah, but they said it's influenced by Shakespeare, I believe.
Hamlet.
Shakespeare?
Hamlet.
Hamlet.
Mm.
Okay, all right, okay.
Hmm.
Right.
And
Okay,
obviously,
now I'm
Hamlet's
thinking. You know
great
what?
actor.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Romeo and Juliet, and that's
No. Mm-mm. There's no
okay.
romance. There's no Julie. No.
Okay. I mean, there kind of is romance in the second.
Yeah, no, but it's not. It's not like
Yeah,
that. Because obviously, in
obviously,
Romeo
yeah.
and Juliet, the focus is the romance.
Mhm.
Hamlet, it's not. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Um. So where am I? So yeah, if you want a little background on Hamlet, because I haven't actually seen or even read Hamlet. Hamlet was not one that we read in
So
school.
I've seen a little bit, but I don't
Yeah.
not the
No,
full.
I.
Yeah.
For me, it was Romeo and Juliet. Obviously, Othello was another one that we did. Macbeth I've done, but I don't know much about Hamlet. I can only go based off of movies inspired by Hamlet that I've seen. But if you need a little more culture, like I do, one of Shakespeare's most famous and one of the world's most performed plays, Hamlet devises a scheme to find out whether his uncle really did murder his father, as alleged by his father's ghost, who appeared to him.
Mhm.
So this might sound a little familiar. But the madness Hamlet feigns while plotting his brutal revenge begins to wreak havoc on the guilty and innocent alike. So that's a little background on Hamlet.
That sounds a little. Yeah, that sounds a little bit like Klein.
Lion King, yeah. So the original fairy tale of Snow White. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Disney's first animated feature film, as we said, was released in 1937. The film is a fairly faithful retelling of the fairy tale that appears in the Brothers Grimm collection, with one exception. While the film ends with the prince awakening Snow White with a kiss and taking her to his castle, let's not forget Snow White was 12. But, anyways, the original story sees the evil queen attend the subsequent wedding where she is recognized by the prince and made to dance, quite literally, until she drops in a pair of red hot iron slippers. So she was made to dance until she died.
Wow.
Yep.
Hmm.
Cinderella. So Disney's animated classic is fun for all of the family, complete with singing mice. I love me, the mice.
Mhm.
But a kindly fairy godmother and a show-stopping dress. While in the Brothers Grimm version, Cinderella still gets her happily ever after, you go girl, but her
Mhm.
evil stepsisters get a much gorier comeuppance than they do in the movie.
Mhm.
After one sister tries to trick the prince into believing she's his true love by cutting off her toe to fit into Cinderella's shoe, and the other tries the same trick by cutting off a part of her heel, Cinderella and the prince are reunited and happily wed with Cinderella's pigeon pals plucking out her sister's eyes as the post-wedding entertainment. So, not at all what we see in the movie, but
Yeah.
hey.
I used to think Snow White and Cinderella were like two of the same movies, but they're completely different.
They're completely different. Around
Yeah,
the same time,
growing,
though.
yeah, yeah, growing
Yeah.
up, I was like, aren't they the same characters? And
I mean,
then
I
when I
get it. I get it.
rewatch, yeah, when I rewatch, I'm like, oh, they're two different characters.
Yeah.
Uh, one's basically did Snow White was she like kind of homeless or whatever, like kind of like
No, so
what?
similarly to Cinderella,
Yeah,
actually, she
was wrong.
lived
Yeah,
at like with or the evil queen is technically
yes,
supposed to be her stepmom. Technically, they don't really
right.
talk about it, but she's
Yeah.
supposed to be the stepmom. Her dad died.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's funny because they always talked about the fact that like Walt Disney would kill moms off.
Hmm.
Um, but he was killing dads off in the beginning, honestly.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
Cinderella, same thing. Her dad died.
Mm.
Yeah,
Feel
and
like
then she had her evil
yeah,
stepmom.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, so they both have stepmoms, right?
they both have stepmoms.
I feel like someone ripped off one story from another and made it kind of like different
Well, it's the same.
towards the
It's
middle and ending.
but Walt Disney back in the day, because of course he had his hand in these
Mhm.
movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, he had a his stories were similar. His stories were similar. They would, because, like I said, they always say he'd kill moms off because that's what he would do in movies.
Mm.
Um, there was always a damsel in distress, and a man has to come and save them, right, and fall in love with them. Like, yeah, that it's always the same kind of thing. With the movies and initially, yeah,
Hmm. And I wonder if it's like, let's make the same characters, but make
one brunette, one blonde,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And instead of mice, we're gonna do little dwarfs, dwarf men,
Yes,
which,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Anyway, so The Hunchback of Notre Dame has a tragic original ending.
Yeah.
So Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, certainly one of the darker animated films, which, yeah, it is,
Yeah.
in their vast back catalog, ends happily with Quasimodo saving Esmeralda, accepting that she loves another, and leaving the cathedral to be welcomed into society as a hero. While in Victor Hugo's novel, however, the story has a much sadder ending, with Quasimodo's guardian, Archdeacon Frollo, like, whatever, who cares, betraying Esmeralda and sending her to her death. When he laughs as Esmeralda is hung, Quasimodo kills Frollo, which, okay, I see no problem there because he's an asshole, but anyways, um, and visits the cemetery where he mourns Esmeralda, eventually dying of starvation on her grave. So, not quite like the movie that we all seen and loved. So, Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that one too. I was like,
hmm
what? No, wait, was that one? Was she homeless at the time? Did it?
Sleeping Beauty?
Yeah.
No, she was actually a
Okay.
princess. Remember, they gave her over to little fairy women to protect her because she had the spell put on her by uh oh, what's her name? It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Put the spell on her when she was 8 year old. So she wasn't homeless.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was she? Was she wearing some kind of drags when she went into the palace of the beast, or was it?
I don't know because she was sleeping. She never went into the boss of the beast. She was sleeping.
She was
But okay,
sleeping.
so if you remember how the story went,
Uh-huh.
the curse was put on her that if she were to touch like one of those spindle needle things,
Uh-huh.
she was
What?
gonna fall asleep and sleep forever until someone came to wake her up. So that was why they
Oh,
put her with the little three fairy ladies
you,
to
you,
protect
you,
her.
sleeping. Okay, Sleeping Beauty. I thought you
Right.
meant Beauty and the Beast. Damn.
No, 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 no.
Okay,
No,
you're
that's
wrong.
Beauty and the Beast. The
Okay, never mind.
Sleeping Beauty. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So the tale of Aurora in Disney's Sleeping Beauty closely follows the story included by the Brothers Grimm in their collection, a story that in turn was based on French author Charles Perrault's version. However, the first version to be published by Guy Battista, Basil, whatever, takes a much darker turn. A king and walking past the home of the Sleeping Beauty, here named Italia, when his falcon flies into the house. Entering the house to retrieve the bird, he comes across the unconscious woman and gathers the first fruits of love, leaving her still unconscious and pregnant with twins. So, read between the lines, y'all. You her.
So
You her.
a lot of people think when the prince kissed the princess when she's
Mhm.
sleeping, that wasn't consent.
Yes, that has been debated.
Talk.
But again, it's a movie, y'all. Okay.
Hmm.
He has to kiss her in order to wake her up.
Hmm.
Because again, same thing with Snow White. She was sleeping too. That is the way, like,
Yeah.
this is how
No,
it goes, right? So it's stupid to even debate it. But yes.
you didn't give consent.
But let's
That's
take it a
weird.
step further, y'all. You want to talk about kissing on consent? This man
Yeah.
her like
Jeez.
while she's sleeping. Which, I mean, some people don't necessarily see problems with that.
Hmm.
If that's something you've discussed with your partner.
Hmm. Hmm.
But under these circumstances, he just walks in and sees this woman sleeping. It's like, she's pretty. like, ew, it's gross. And then you impregnate her. How does she
Yeah.
give birth to twins? She's sleeping. Okay. Okay, guys, let's move on to
Yeah.
Pinocchio. So, Pinocchio was Disney's second animated feature film and
Mhm.
features one of the best loved Disney songs, When You Wish Upon a Star. Disney's version is surreal enough, with blue fairies, boys transformed into donkeys, and Geppetto living in the belly of a whale,
Mhm.
but it's got nothing on Carlo Codoli's dark original. So the story was originally published as a serial, which I
Mhm.
not quite know what it means, with Pinocchio accidentally killing a talking cricket. Yikes. Don't kill
Mhm.
Jiminy Cricket, but he kills Jiminy Cricket. Um, Falling asleep on a stove and burning his feet off, and being hung by a rather evil talking cat and fox duo, which we do see in the movie, but they don't kill him.
Mhm.
Um, While poor Geppetto lives on a ship inside the terrible dogfish for 2 whole years before being rescued by his wooden son. So that's the real story. Rapunzel. Rapunzel in Disney's Tangled is a modern day heroine breaking out of her tower to explore the outside world and getting into a lot of trouble along the way.
I can see
In
why.
the
I can see why the story could be
Well,
dark.
we've all read Rapunzel the original. I have anyways,
Yeah.
and it's not like this. Not like Tangled. I love Tangled, but anyway.
Mhm.
Um, in the original story, she has an even tougher time of it, shorn of her hair and cast out into the wilderness when the witch holding her captive learns that a prince has been visiting her nightly. Ooh. When the prince visits again, the witch tricks him into climbing the tower using Rapunzel's cut off hair, only to push him from the tower. He is blinded in the fall and wanders the wilderness until he is reunited with Rapunzel and the twins that she has given birth to, guided back to her by her beautiful singing voice. The
Mhm.
tears of happiness that Rapunzel cries restore the prince's sight, and they all live happily ever after. I definitely had this book somewhere. I don't know if I still have it, but I read this book. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So a little more. We're going to go a little more into some of the movies we already talked about and kind of some more of the dark stuff that we didn't talk about before. So, Snow White's Wedding featured a live execution by dance. We talked about this already. So, which is sucky. So we don't need to go through that again. Um, so where was I? So yeah, it's the next one. We're gonna talk about you brought up Beauty and the Beast. So let's talk about that. The
Mhm.
Disney story tells us that the beast was cursed because he turned away an old beggar woman who needed his help. However, in the original story of Beauty and the Beast, the old beggar woman was an evil fairy that had custody of the prince after his parents died. Upon the prince turning of age, she tries to seduce him.
Mhm.
When the prince turns her down, because, yeah, duh, she gets mad and turns him into a beast.
Age. What age was the prince? I don't remember.
Of age. He was of age.
Of age. Okay.
So, to make it better, he's of age. Yeah.
So how old was the princess?
Um, do you
You
mean
know?
Belle?
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't a princess.
Oh, okay. She was just a normal
Yeah.
girl or
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now anyone who's actually read the original Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, which not me, not I hate Peter Pan. Sorry, not sorry.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah. Peter
knows,
Pan.
mm,
Peter Pan has some. If you just look closely or watch it really closely, it
it's already has issues.
has some she has some dark themes as well in there.
Yeah,
So like,
but I honestly, not even so much about that. I just hate Peter Pan. I hate the movie. I hate the movie with a passion. I just can't. I don't get it. Anyways,
mm,
I
mm,
like Hook
mm,
because Robin Williams is in it. But
isn't Peter Pan basically like Robin Hood with wings in a
he
way?
doesn't have wings.
I mean, like No, well,
No, no, not really,
Peter Pan
because
doesn't have wings.
Robin Hood is about stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. Peter
Mhm.
Pan is just a selfish child who doesn't want to grow up.
Right. Okay. My bad. Yeah, like yeah. I'm thinking that Peter Pan has wings, but like he does fly though. He
I mean,
does fly.
whatever. Anyway, they know that Peter Pan wasn't a saint. So in the book,
Mhm.
it's insinuated in one chapter that Peter Pan would kick kids out of Neverland for growing up. See what I mean? He also fed a hand to a crocodile, which is in the movie. We don't know this, which is the same one he frequently set off on Captain Hook to trigger his PTSD in the animated movie.
Right.
Right. So maybe Disney did justice to his character after all. I beg to differ, but who am I? So we, yeah, so we talked about Tangled. We don't have to do that one again. Um,
I'm surprised you didn't talk about Winnie the Pooh yet.
um, I don't know if I do. I don't know if I
But
do.
there was some well, I don't remember, but there was kind of controversy on the dark side of Winnie the Pooh as well. But I don't know if you had that on the list of your movies of
But it's not about the controversies that we're talking
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
It's more about the stories behind the movies
Sorry, the enemies.
that, yeah, that they made more magical to be, palatable to children. So that's more about what
Oh,
we're
okay.
talking about. Yeah.
Right.
Um, so I'm just trying to see what else we have here so that I'm not repeating stuff. Um, oh, Pocahontas. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Pocahontas real quick,
Yeah.
which obviously, as we know, she is a real person.
Mhm.
So according to the National Park Service, both versions say Pocahontas was
Mhm.
kidnapped and held for ransom because, yes, she was, and forced to marry John Smith. It wasn't a love story. Um, Actually, I don't know if it was John Smith. Was John Smith or John Rolfe? It might have been John Rolfe because I believe one of the Johns is not a real person, but I
Yeah.
cannot remember if it's John Smith or John Rolfe. If you remember from the second movie, she actually like says deuces John Smith and goes with John Rolfe. So I can't remember though which one it is. But um anyway, during that time she got married and had a child, but the details are uncertain. She ended up dying just after 4 years after her kidnapping, though the official cause of death is unknown, and I think we'll never know because this was centuries ago. So yeah, obviously
It's John Smith.
John Smith. Okay. Um, yeah, so John Smith, it wasn't as it is in the movie where she falls in love with John Smith and, you know, you know, loves him very much. Um, it's not like that at all. So,
Mhm.
yeah, love the
Okay.
movie, but it's not like that. I do love Pocahontas. It's funny. I do love Pocahontas. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid, but
Do you like one or two?
oh, 100%. I have both of them.
Mhm.
Um, I had both of them. I still have them. I just can't watch them, but I have both of them. But one always was
Mhm.
my favorite.
I think I only watched one, and I didn't don't think I ever watched two. Yeah.
It's
So.
okay. It's okay. Um, but even like Little Mermaid, there's two. I loved both of them. I could, obviously the original is always going to be the
Mhm.
favorite, but the second one was good too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're done. We're done. We're done. That's
yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah,
it. So yeah, that's the dark side of Disney movies, everybody.
yeah.
If we missed one, you know, let us know, or do your own research as you please. Uh, but yeah, this ends episode 70 of the Next Tape podcast. The Next Tape podcast is available now on all podcast platforms. We also have a website called solo.to/Next Tape podcast. Tanika, where else are we at?
We are on Facebook and Instagram at Next Day Podcast
Mhm.
and Twitter and TikTok at Next Day Pod.
And you can email us at mikeltanika@gmail.com. That's our email. at mikeltanika@gmail.com. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our, the dark side of Disney, uh,
Mhm.
part one, and the final part of this episode is two.
Mhm.
Uh, like I said from earlier, if you want to check out episode 66 of Disney's The Dark Side of Disney, go check it out. It's available now.
We talked about the theme parks. That's what
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
focus on that one.
yep. The theme parks on that episode. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to say, Tanika, before we just head out and
Um, Not really. I mean, the only other thing that we maybe should mention is we're going to be heading into Black History Month, so we're going to be talking Black History for the entire month of February, like we did last year. And then also, if you want to, we are going to be doing more of a not on somewhat a darker side, but it's kind of darker side of nursery rhymes that's going to be happening later on in the year.
Mhm.
So kind of similar to the movies that we just talked about. You can kind of look out for that.
Mhm. Okay, yeah. Look out for our Black History Month series once again.
Mhm.
If you haven't checked out last year's, it's on the podcast. Just scroll down and you'll see it.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah. Okay. So I'm Mikel, and
And I'm Tanika.
we're out until what, Tanika?
We are out until next week.
Oh my God.
It's next week.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. I could have said that myself, but whatever. We're out until next week. Peace, guys.
Bye.